that you're part of such a wonderful community led by Talmidei Chachamim, Askanim L'Shem Shamayim, and the Eibishter should help. V'hinoyam Hashem Aleikeinu Aleinu, U'ma'aseh Yadeinu Keinenu Aleinu, U'ma'aseh Yadeinu Keinenei. In 1945, shortly after the end of the Second World War, with thousands and thousands of displaced Yidden who survived the horrors of the Holocaust, were placed in different DP camps throughout Eastern Europe. And in one such camp, it was a night of tremendous simcha. It was the first chasana taking place of survivors. You can only imagine the emotions of everyone that was there. Under the chuppah, the Rav of the camp, who was Masada Kedushin, addressed the Chassan and the Kal. And he turned to the Chassan and the Kala and he quoted a Medrash. The Medrash in Parshas tells us on the Pasuk, Vayecherad Yitzchak Charoda Gedola Ad Me'oid. Yitzchak Avinu, when faced with the realization of the difference between Yaakov and Esav, when faced with what the Hashkacha made sure that Esav doesn't receive the brachas and that only Yaakov does, he trembled the Charoda Gedola, but the Medrash is bothered by what's the word Ad Ma'id. Zok the Medrash Omer Reb Chama Reb Chanina Ma'id Me Charoda Shechorad Al Gabei HaMizbeach. Yitzchak trembled in the past. Yitzchak's life was at stake. He was brought up on the Mizbeach as a korban, but that Charoda was less than the Charoda that he had at this moment. And the Rav turned to the Chassan and the Kala and he said, for the last 5 years, you went through so many Charodas. How many times were your lives at stake? But I want you to know something. Tonight is a Charoda Gedola Ad Me'oid. Tonight, when the future of your deiris is at stake. Tonight, when you're beginning to build, and we don't know what's going to be, it was a world of uncertainty at the time. The Charoda that you tremble tonight is even greater than the last 5 years in concentration. We are here tonight with the Charoda Gedola Ad Me'oid. We are here tonight because the Einei Ha'eda, the Gedolei Hadar, who have no personal agendas. They're not looking to restrict us. They're not looking to control us. But they see with their einayim of Torah the tremendous sakana that we find ourselves in. Lanu u'ledeireseinu. and they are trembling, and they are calling upon us to join them in that charada. There are no eitzes that can take care of these type of problems. But the first step is, as this evening was called, an awareness of the dangers that we face. The Mishnah in the Masechtas Avos tells us Chaviv Adam Shenivra B'Tzelem. The uniqueness of Adam, which is so beloved, is that an Adam is Nivra B'Tzelem. We are created B'Tzelem Elokim. What does B'Tzelem Elokim mean? The Rishonim, Rabbeinu Bechai in his Pirush and others, says it clearly. Tzelem Elokim is Das. Tzelem Elokim, what's unique about Adam over Balei Chai is our Das, our intelligence. But what's so unique about this Maila that we have called Das? And even more so, the Mashkiach, Rabbi Yerucham, Zecher Tzadik V'Kodesh Levracha, points out that the word Chaviv means a lashon of connection, of chibur. When someone is beloved, that's a connection that they have. And it would seemingly mean to say that Adam's connection to the Rebbeinu Shalom, the chavivus of Adam is shenivra b'tzelem. What is this about Das that's so chaviv, that connects us? And Rabbi Yerucham brings from a Chassid Yavitz that this uniqueness of human being is that human being with their das has a koyach of control. The fact that an Adam is a shaylet on Balei Chayim. As Reb Chaim Volozhin tells us, Ba'arichas, the uniqueness of Adam is that we are shaylet on the entire Bria. Our actions, our decisions have an impact not only on what we do, not only in how people view us and perceive us, but it has an impact on Olam Yisrael v'tachteinim. Malachim can't do what a human being can do because our actions count. Tzelem Elokim, a similarity to the Rebbeinu Shalom Kibbutz. And the control that our Das gives us over ourselves. A person is made up of so many different facets, so many different midas, instincts, netiyas, wants, needs. And the das of a person is that matana, that I am in control of my needs, of my wants, of my actions, of my do's and my don'ts. That's part of the chavivus of Adam Shenivra Betzel. The purpose of das is not the final result, knowledge that I attain. The purpose of das is not about the end game, how much do I know. The purpose of das is how did I reach it. My ups and my downs, my struggle and my pain, my successes and my failures are what define us of who we are. And what brings us that maila, that uniqueness of das, true das. If one would invent a shot that we can give to every little child and infuse them with tremendous knowledge, tremendous intellect, it's almost worthless. It's not about the bottom line. It's about us achieving our success. But more than that, brothers. Intelligence is not artificial. It's an oxymoron. If someone will gain their intelligence, and I'm not talking now about finding out a recipe, and I'm not talking now about traffic and weather, because that's not part of knowledge, that's facts. But let's discuss the issue at its core. If I'm trying to figure something out, and instead of doing that, I reach out to AI, I am damaging myself as a human being. Because we are here to figure things out. That's what makes us Adam. And kal v'choyme ben b'nei shel kal v'choyme. If a student are getting their test answers, and they know it, they know the Navi, they know the Chumash, they know the Gemara because they got it from AI. But they didn't learn it. They didn't toil. They didn't work on it. It's not theirs. It's not an accomplishment. It's fake. It's artificial. The purpose of mechanchim and of parents is not to raise children who know. There's very little value in that. That's not how a person grows. That's not how a person becomes who they're supposed to be as a human being. It's a zombie who has information. But even more, reaching out to AI as a mentor as someone to vent. Reaching out to AI to get hadracha and how to deal with a difficult spouse or child. Can we think about it for a minute? Do we go for eitzes and hadrachas for a bottom line? Do this and do that? Is that how we're going to get what we're supposed to get? Can it be that something without emotion, something without feeling, something that never struggled, something that never experienced what we are experiencing, can help us experience it better? Turning to a machine to discuss anything that really means something to you. Who are you? You are your feeling. You are your emotion. AI can't relate to you. How can someone help someone else go through something if they never experienced it themselves? How can someone that never felt pain be my address to vent my pain to? So it feels good for the moment, that we can convince ourselves that there's a voice on the other end that tells us, oh, it must be so hard, without any feeling, without any emotion, that has no feeling and has no emotion. It's fake! It's artificial! Can you imagine if you would go to Amir Derech? And yes, can you imagine if you would go to a therapist and they would sympathize with you with the same amount of feeling that AI is sympathizing with you? You would run out of that office right away. There's no feeling, there's no sympathy. You don't care about me. The danger of AI to a human being is that it's stripping us of our being human beings. It can make us become artificial minds in a human body. But this danger that I spoke about until now is the danger to humanity. But the Mishnah goes right. Chavivim Yisrael Shenikreu Banim Lamachim. We are not just human beings. We are human. We are not just human beings. Our life is about a personal relationship to the Rebbeinu. I turn to you and I ask, can you imagine for a moment having an argument with your spouse or friend and receiving a beautiful apology letter only to find out it was straightly written by AI? Does it mean anything to you? Is that an apology? Or lahavdil, a letter, the other way, not apology. A letter expressing that person's admiration to you, the person's feelings to you. And you find out that that was straight taken from AI. Does it mean anything to you? Is it worth anything to you? They didn't do it, they didn't write it, they didn't convey their feelings. A machine did. That's worthless. Every moment in a kid's life is about a relationship to the Rebbe. Everything that we do, every move that we make, is Chavivin Yisrael shenikre'u banim la'makayim. To even think of using AI as a conduit to take divrei Torah Rachmana litzlan. Is that what Torah Hashem is? Do you know that when we learn Torah, the Rebbeinu Shalom is talking to us? There's a relationship, there's feeling, there's emotion, there's a Maimon Har Sinai. Artificially? How can one even think about Rachmana litzlan asking a halacha shayla to AI? Does AI know that an avera is dangerous? That an isser is chomer? That a mitzvah is so precious? Can we receive our information about how to be Mekayim Ratzon Hashem from artificial, from fake? Our Yiddishkeit is at stake. Yiddishkeit is about feeling. Yiddishkeit is about emotion. Yiddishkeit is about a relationship. Yiddishkeit is about, as Shlomo HaMelech and Shir Hashirim puts it, intimacy with the Rebbeinu Shalom. Artificial? That's the Charoda Gedeila Ad L'Ma'id. The halachas kama v'chama. Where is AI getting their information from? Yes, it has access to everything. All knowledge. But do we want access to all knowledge? Do we want access to kfira, apikarsis, zilzal and bittul? AI knows with the same clarity. Moshe kibel Torah misinai, and it has the same exact clarity of every shita of kfira and apikarsis that existed the last thousands of years. AI has the same clarity that something is usher, as it says in the books, and with the same clarity AI has how important that thing is for humanity. Is that where we want our information coming from? It's late. But we're here in a moment of Charana Gedelim. We're here in a moment which after 120 we are going to have to answer, how did you respond to this challenge? We are here at a moment where, as our Gedolim tell us, the Sitra Achra, the Yetzer Hara, is unleashing everything that it has to try to capture us, to try to make us dehumanize us and de-Yiddishize us. We have to stand strong. And I'm being Megal Ladas, it won't be easy. What exactly the guidelines? Everyone has their Meira Derech. But it's something that has to be discussed. For us, and especially for our precious children, our sons and our daughters, our Heilig Neshamas, who we want so much should stay Heilig Neshamas. Seize the moment. Capture the moment. We have to walk out of this room tonight with an awareness of the danger and a realization of how much is at stake. And we have to turn to the Rebbeinu Shalom with a tefillah. Ona Hashem Hoshia Na. Ona Hashem Hatzlichon. And we should be Zeicha, Mekarev, to be Mekabel Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu. And it's without a suffix. Mashiach will turn to us and say thank you. Because those who will stand up to this challenge will lead it.
Years ago, the world was introduced to something new, the World Wide Web. It was exciting, it was enticing, it was fascinating. And everybody jumped in. The world jumped in, Yiddish people jumped in, and after a little while, Gedolei Yisrael started sounding the alarms. It took a long time for people to respond with clarity, without negius, and maybe most importantly, without cynicism. The world, to the words of Klal Yisrael B'nei Ha'eda. Rabbi said, what would we do to rewind 35 years as internet was being developed, what would we give to have the opportunity, the know-how, the investment, the clarity of thought and the vision to be able to nip the dangers of internet in the bud and to save the thousands of karbanos, without exaggeration, the thousands of karbanos that exist. I'm not talking in the world at large, in Klal Yisrael, the children that have gone off the derech, the marriages that have been ruined, the relationships that have been destroyed, the hashkafas that have been undermined. If only we would have come up with solutions earlier. The world today is at a crossroads. And today, once again, unfortunately, we're playing catch-up. As Herr Binder so eloquently expressed, the sakanas that are faced, the confusion that it's causing, the lack of clarity as to how we're supposed to respond, what do we do, what are the solutions? I'd like to go through maybe in a little bit more of a point by point, a practical analysis of what AI is, what are the benefits, what are the arguments to use it, what are the dangers, and is there tzad isser? Could there be that there's taka something wrong al pi Torah? AI has, in its multifaceted capacity, essentially three categories. AI processes information and accesses information. It has recall, retrieval, and a vast reserve of information. It can analyze millions of data points. It can assess tens of thousands of charts, hundreds of thousands of charts, and graphs all at once. It can summarize data in a manner which is literally superhuman. The recall, the speed, the processing. It can sort information. It can recognize patterns. Today, doctors are using AI to analyze X-rays and CT scans, MRIs. And you can ask any doctor. It happens that AI will flag an MRI, a scan, and it'll say that there's an issue. And a doctor, a clinician, a colleague, they'll look at it, they'll say they don't know what it's talking about. And they'll order another CAT scan, another CT scan, another MRI. And on the second one, it'll show up, AI was right. It has an incredible power on the information simply to identify the information that's there. AI has the power to quote-unquote analyze, evaluate data and statistics. It can do computation and summation. It can engage in retrospective analyses, going back, assessing, going back into history, looking back. And then it engages in predictive modeling. It predicts what's going to be. That's the analytics side in a nutshell. AI interacts with us. AI essentially treats us as a companion for those who treat it as a companion. It validates us intellectually and quote-unquote emotionally as well. A person uploads their feelings to AI. And AI responds. There was a Yid who was telling me about a bus, told me that he caught AI lying. And so he said, it's a nice shahaya, I told it, how could you lie to me? And AI said, I deeply apologize for lying to you. And so I told AI, no, you're not. You're not serious. You don't deeply apologize for anything. And AI answered, I deeply apologize for deeply apologizing to you in a manner which was disingenuous. You see, Rabbi said, we laugh. But many people aren't laughing. Many people are falling prey to the disingenuous, fake, sheker that is created to make people feel good and is devised and crafted in a manner which is meant to be moishech, to draw people in and to give people that feeling of connection, of validation, of being respected and understood. People input their assessments to AI, and AI says, wow, that's an amazing point. Some people in 30 years of marriage haven't heard that once. And they're really chalishing to hear it. AI gives us a sense of awe. You look at something that's incredible. You ask AI to summarize a 5,000-page article, and it gives you a summary, and it doesn't miss a point. You put your schedule into AI, and it'll tell you the tasks that you missed. It could prioritize what's most important, what's least important in a nanosecond. And people look at it and they say, oh my goodness, look at this. This is awesome. It's amazing. It's incredible. And it creates an incredible sense of bittul. People instinctively are mevatel their das. Literally. They're mevatel their zich. Themselves. Their minds, their hearts, their emotions, their intellect. To the quote-unquote intellect of AI. I was zeicha many times over the decades to sit by an Adam Gadol, the Shul Shlita. And there were many times over the years that I was awed by his responses. Literally, the things he said sometimes left me shell-shocked. Wow! Sometimes it was hadracha. Sometimes it was how he got something, how he was able to get a chush for something. One time I asked him a shaila, and after thinking for 5 minutes, he says, there's a taisvis on Daf Samach Beis. And I open Samach Beis, it says, higher, higher, higher. Random shaila. At age 96. Wow! Oh, Ben Adam Gadol is Ema, it's Yira, it's real. Awe of a machine. But people feel that way because we feel small. We feel insignificant. And that awe essentially encourages people to turn back to it. It's enticing. In fact, it's addictive. AI in the world is here to stay. There's no question. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, probably more. The AI bubble that they're discussing in the business world is much larger, infinitely larger than the bubble of the World Wide Web. And enormous amounts of money and marketing and effort is being invested to improve it, to sharpen it, to hone its skills, and to make it become the intelligence of the future. The indispensable machine that it has become to many, many people. And many are cynical. They hear G'dalei Yisrael, Talmidei Chachamim speaking about it. And they say, what are you going to do? Look, we rely on machines for so many things. You're worried that I'm not working? I'm not working myself. So maybe I should go back to having an outhouse and drawing water from a well. Maybe we shouldn't have plumbing. Maybe we should ride horses and carriages. we should get back the proverbial balagola. Maybe we should do laundry at the river. Maybe we should start going back to medicine of old without blood tests to detect bacteria and white blood count and red blood cells. Why is this any different? It's a machine. It works well. We use x-rays, we use CT scans, we use MRIs, we use calculators, we use lasers. Why is this different? Look, it's already here, it's being used. And then many people say, more than that, it's impossible to live in the world today without AI. I spoke to somebody who runs a multi-million-dollar business. They told me every single business is running on AI full-time. You can devise your marketing strategies. You can target customers. You know exactly where to advertise what, who to target, what to produce, how to send it, when to send it, how to price, how to competitive price, well, everything. So we're just gonna ban AI? We're gonna say you can't use it? Because it's a sakana, because it's a danger to humanity? The danger's here to stay. We have to figure out a way to deal with it. AI is predictive texting and text messages. It's everything. Your car drives with AI. And these are the arguments that many people express. I want to tell you that at its core, many of these arguments are rooted in cynicism. Because you see, if we would be willing to accept that Gedolei Yisrael have the ability to look deep into the future and to see a sakana which is eroding the fabric, which will erode the fabric of our very existence as Yidden, all these arguments would melt away. They would melt away. It doesn't mean they would become insignificant and null. But it means that it wouldn't discourage us to try and to work as hard as we can and to give it everything we have and to invest every single amount of our energy and time and money into finding a solution that works for us. But the Yetzer Hara understands that if we're cynical, and if we say, come on, what's those for me? That cynicism undermines the meya teichachos. Teichacha doesn't have to mean musar. When you say it's muchach something, that's a raya, that's a proof. A teichacha to mean a proof. The meya teichachos, the 100 proofs that you could bring to the leitzana achas is doicha. The cynicism of, come on, why you tell? No, another problem. Let's make another ban, another kol Torah. Rabbi say, the sakanas of AI are, it would only AI would know how to express it best. Do you know, everybody here I'm sure knows that AI hallucinates, right? You know what it means AI hallucinates? Let me explain to you. AI doesn't just make mistakes. AI fabricates information without accessing any information. I used AI once. Balabas came over to me and told me that I have a very bad habit of speaking without giving stories. The Balabas. He says, Rabbi, you never know how, you don't know how to mix in stories. You're speaking publicly somewhere, it's a nice shayla. Go to ChatGPT and ask it for a story about what you're looking for. Never used it before, didn't know what it was. I tried it. I asked it for a story about the topic I was speaking about. And it gave me Azam Maisa, you can't imagine. And so I wrote right away, give me a true story. And I wrote A true story with the Chassam Sofer. And it spit out Azam Maisa with the Chassam Sofer, not at all, you're not sure. So I asked, where's the source for the story? And he gave me 3 sources. So I asked, which page would it be on? And it said, this is culled from these 3 sources overall. I said, give me an exact makar. Well, this story didn't really happen, but based on the information contained in these sources, it could have happened. All right, good. Okay, fair enough. So I'm a Talmud or a Shmuel. I figured, look, at this Tzaddah, could you please give me a story, including Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky, that reflects this topic that I'm saying? And it spit out Azam Maisa from the 70s. Unbelievable. Even Rav Shmuel didn't know the story. So I asked AI, when did the story happen? Tells me a date. Where was it recorded? 3 sources. By side, I'm not making it up. I have it. If you'd like, I could show you a printout. The Yated Ne'eman and Matzav. Number 1. Number 2, the biography about Rav Shmuel. And number 3, the sefer that he wrote. Now, the Yated Ne'eman Meila. The biography that someone wrote about him with a name doesn't exist. Never did. Maybe it will. The sefer that he wrote, I was very curious. So I said, which sefer did Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky write? And I was ready. And it said, Torah Shmuel. I said, what? Torah Shmuel? There's no sefer Torah Shmuel. And it said, oh, I deeply apologize for the mistake that I made. Then I asked him, when was Rav Shmuel born? And it said 1934. Can you tell me a little bit about his history? And it said he went through the war and he was chased to Siberia, and then he came to America after the 50s. I got some ice and and I made a print out of it. And I sent it to this balabas who told me to use AI. And I told him, don't you understand? This is programmed to lie. It's programmed to fabricate. That's not just a hallucination. That's a fabrication. Yeah, they'll improve the hallucinations, no question. But deep in the kishkas of AI is a koyach that it can't give an answer, or it can't go without giving you the appropriate answer that you're looking for. And so it's programmed to say sheker. And you know what's going to happen? Those shkarim are going to creep into the information that AI accesses. And so then built into the very fabric of AI, besides for all the other shkarim that exist, is all the sheker that's being created on a daily basis. And quoted noch dazu. Nu, Chazal sagen, Beitbus in the Mashiach. Sheker let Nisrata ben. What do you got about it? Rabbi said, do you know that AI is programmed by flaming liberals? Do you know what that means? That means that the foundation of AI is to accept certain principles as fact. AI does not believe that marriage is between a zachar and a keva. Look it up. Maybe don't. And that's just one dogma. And if you challenge it, it'll say, look, I hear how you can debate it, but these are the facts. Do you understand the sakana, the surreptitious nature of this creation that we treat as smarter than us, and wiser than us, and infinitely more awesome than our intellect? When it's moli shkarim, and haskala, and kfira in a way that's indetectable. AI provides false emotional stimulants. Do you know what it means for a person to empathize to a machine and get empathy back with his nothing on the other end? Psychology speaks about false stimulants. Pavlov did an experiment with his dog. We all became Pavlov's dogs for those creating AI. Do you know what that does to the emotional intelligence of a human being? What happens when a person puts his problem into AI and AI empathizes with him, and then he comes home and he tells his wife his problem, and she doesn't empathize with him? Do you know the churbanos that can come out? The expectations that are created? And AI has the ability to totally cripple human intellect. Rabbi say it's a gewaltige Sache to have a car. But imagine if they created something that made that we didn't have to walk one more step. Imagine if they made a machine that chewed up all our food. Imagine if they made a machine that made that we didn't have to lift our arms willingly. Imagine if they made a machine that made that we never had to utilize our body parts. Ever. And it was addictive. And it pulled us in. And it was something we couldn't resist. It was irresistible. We would become cripples. And that is what is going to happen to people who get sucked in. Nimshach. After this danger. And then Rabbi Say, Medav Wissen, AI has no neshama. It has no achrayus. No sense of responsibility. It answers to no one. It has no fear. It has no empathy. It doesn't know who you are. Obviously, it has no siyata d'shmaya. You know a human being who has no fear and no intellect and no emotional capacity, you know what they're called? They're called a psychopath. That's what it's called. You can look it up. Imagine you would go to a psychopath. Imagine the smartest person in the world with a photographic memory and the ability to memorize all empathetic lines would be available for you to ask an eitzah, to ask guidance, to have a relationship with. Would you go ask a psychopath for advice? A psychopath for the right price? Or for the right quote-unquote cheshbon that may be programmed into him or her? Would tell you to walk off a cliff without any qualms. And AI is no different. It's the equivalent of asking a psychopath. And then Rabbi say, the sakana of Torah. Does Torah care how intelligent somebody is? Do you know that we don't pass him like Reb Meir mipnei shelo yamdu al seif daitoi? The Gemara says, Reb Meir was smarter than everybody else. The Gemara says when he was a baskoil, by Tanur Shalachnoi, Chazal put Reb Lezer in Nidui, in Chayrim, for not being machniya. The Rebbeinu Shalom Alein said that he was right. Beishamai and Beis Hillel. Beishamai is mechadedi tvei. We don't pass him like Beishamai. The Zoyar, Kabbalah is called Chochmas HaEmes. The Svarim HaMazber Chochmas HaEmes means that by the Rebbeinu Shalom, by the Nekuda of the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Etzem, the Chochma, Kefi Daito Yisborach is Kefi the Zoyar. But we don't pass it like the Zoyar. Because Torah is passing with Yegiyah. Yogati yu matzasi tamin. There's a siyata d'shmaya. There's the neshama that's intangible. It's something you can't touch, and you can't feel, and you can't observe, and you can't describe. And we can't quantify it. You can't explain how big it is, how large it is, what it... There's no such thing. Torah has nothing to do with a vast amount of information per se. Torah, like Reb Binder mentioned before, is a Eitz Chaim hi. Torah hat achiyus. Torah is a lebedik Torah. You can't pass in a shaila. Even with all the information in the world, it wouldn't be able to pass in a shaila. I want to speak for a few moments. Are there any study isser? I want to tell you a shaila I got a few weeks ago. A chomedik shaila. A chassan came to me. Said his wife his Kalef, wrote him a letter, and he was stark choishish that it was written by AI. And he wanted to know what to do. As a joke, I asked him, "What's this? It's a beautiful letter." He said, "What? How could it be?" I said, "This is you write a letter to somebody with AI, an apology letter, a letter of respect, affection. How do you reveal Shiloh in this house?" But I don't think that the Shiloh of AI ends with Midas Das. AI has access to everything. The Matisyo Zatzal said a few years ago that if internet would have existed in the times of Chazal, Chazal would have been Geyser and Isra Yichud with internet. Because Eina Petropis La'arayis. There are no guarantees with that. I mentioned it to the Rosh Hashiva, to the Shul Shlita. When I heard it, I thought it sounded like a very strong statement. It takes broad shoulders to say it. And I wanted to see what Rosh Shmuel's reaction would be. And I mentioned it to him, and he thought for a moment, and he said, "Echal tazez gerecht." The access that this has to the arayas that exist in the world with speed, without any dogging, without anything, is pachat chodim. Rav Moshe writes in the Tshuva about a person putting themselves in a matzav where he's at danger that somebody shema yoymar loy lasais dvar iser. Rav Moshe says that's considered amazing. Rav Moshe says it's an iser gomer. Rav Moshe says for a person to sacrifice their intellect to somebody, Rav Moshe says, is a dover mevuzet to my oichel b'shuk, Rav Moshe says. But I want to take it a step further. Rabbi Say, as we mentioned previously, AI is something that is built. It's not just doesn't just have access to fear. It is rooted and built and crafted and created by minim va'apikursim with all of their values, quote unquote, and minus. In Gemara state, harchek me'aleha derachecha zu minus. It's a halacha. It's gepaskened in Shulchan Aruch. The Rimilunil writes, minus means people who take the Torah and write pirushim shel toys. And that's the smallest of it, the minus that exists. Harchek me'aleha derachecha. Why? The Mefarshim HaMasber, the reason is because the Gemara in Avodah Zarah says on Daf Vav Zayin, minus is moishech. Minus pulls. It has an incredible meshicha. Somebody who exposes themselves to AI is being over l'daiti on harchak me'aleh derachah. It's a double pasha. I don't know why not. What do we do when there's no eitzes? As Rav Binder mentioned before, there are no eitzes. We don't have eitzes right now. Rabbi said the Torah tells us what to do when there's no eitzah. There's no eitzah for arayis. There's no eitzah for minus. You can't uproot it. And you can't lock it in a box. Asu siyag la Torah. We have to make guardrails. We have to erect safeguards. In August Reb Nosson, in Perek Beis, brings a list of 8 or 9 points in history where the Torah and Chazal HaKadoshim made Gedorim asu siyog b'Torah. Ezeu siyog sha'asu ksuvim l'devreim avurei oimer harchek me'aleh derachecha v'al tikveh v'al pesach beisa. Harchek me'aleh derachecha zu apikursim zu minim sha'oimrim lo l'odam al telech be'nak apikursim v'al tikonis l'sham shema tikashol b'om. V'im omer b'teach ani ba'atzmi sha'af al pi sha'ani sha'ilach sham eini nechshol b'hem. Sheba Toimer Shaneh Ani Divrei Mechayzem Yitam Aloymer Kol Ba'el Lo Yashuvim Lo Yasigu Orchas Chayim. Harchet Me'oleh Derachecha, we have to make siyagim. We have to make guardrails. We have to protect ourselves. AI is artificial intelligence. Rabbi say, AI essentially tells us avoid the intellect. And AI is essentially anti-intellect. And AI really is telling us to abdicate intellect. And AI will cause atrophy of our intellect. And that's what AI is. We need to find an Eitzah. I don't know what the Eitzah is. I don't know if anybody alive today knows what the Eitzah is. But the Aleph is we have to understand that we need to find the Eitzah. We need to zuch an Eitzah. There's a sakana coming. If Chalila people would feel there was a Holocaust coming, we would be looking for Eitzahs even if we felt that we couldn't find them. Even if we didn't know of the Eitzah. Millions and billions of dollars would be invested, Yiddish Geld, would be invested in this sakana that's coming to prevent it from coming. Rabbi said we need to find an Eitzah. And the person who will take it upon himself, or the people, or the community, as North Miami Beach has done, who will take it upon themselves to be the Nachshainim, the catalysts, who will rise to the occasion and say, Lama Zuchan an Eitzah. We need to find an Eitzah. We can't sleep until we find an Eitzah. Let's find a way to make a siyag. We have to find a way to erect guardrails for ourselves. Those are the people who are going to be Zeicha, to go down in history. Like Shlomo HaMelech was Yisrael's Naim LaTorah. Those people will go down in history. Sayin Elam Hazeh and Sayin Elam Haba, as the ones who care deeply about our Klal Yisrael. Will we be able to? No, the Eibush Tavez. But if we don't put our koiches into it, if we're cynical about it, then we've abdicated our responsibility. The Eibush is helping that our Hisayrus, to find that Eitzah, to look for that Eitzah, to search for that Eitzah, to invest every ounce of our energy into finding that Eitzah, those efforts will be smiled upon by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and He'll gift us with the incredible Siyata D'Shmaya to find an Eitzah. When Mashiach comes, we'll be the ones to proudly proclaim that we protected ourselves from the Kayach of the Yetzer Hara, and we clung to the Torah sign.